Hey everyone, the title of this video is called Don't Complain About Your Spouse. I'm hoping I will be able to finish this video. I looked at my phone and my memory is at 80%. And I just did a video previously called The Lord's Table. So I'm hoping to get both of these on my phone so that I can put them on my computer and prepare them to upload on YouTube. So I want to try to make this fast. Now, in marriage, couples have issues. Duh. You may have complaints about your spouse and how they act and what they do. Now, complaining doesn't help the situation. I've complained many a times, and all it does is it gets you to increase in bitterness. And if you're a Christian, that's all you're going to be focusing on. And if you're focusing on such, you're not serving your spouse. Now, if you complain, maybe you complain to somebody else and you possibly trashed your spouse. And that doesn't even further get you into thinking the right things and to walking in forgiveness and love for your spouse. It doesn't bring growth in being critical of them. You're not going to go anywhere in God, because it said even in Scripture that if you have issues with your spouse, then that is why I believe it's the husband's prayers that are not answered. So, like I said, it doesn't bring growth in being critical of them. And, I understand fully what it's like, to deal with irritation. Things don't go the way you anticipate, the way you hope. You may have an expectation of the way you want your spouse to walk. In the family, if you're Christians, let's say, maybe your husband isn't walking fully for the Lord. You are, and you're complaining about that. So, it's not going to help by complaining. You got to be love. You got to walk in love. You got to pray for them. Serve them. And I'll get to that eventually. So I understand that you may be upset at this time, but it doesn't help to do any of the things that I just mentioned. Like I said, I know you may be upset, but God has a plan and a reason. He knows what's going on. Look at this trial that you're going through with your spouse as a way of God growing you in Him. Maybe you need to grow in love for your spouse. Maybe you need to receive love to love. God is using the situation in itself to make you stronger in Him. So allow Him to do so. Go to Him. Release any frustrations you may have. Release it to Him. And allow Him to speak to you in this time about what you need to do. How you can serve them. How you can love. Now, I recall the biblical movie Moses, when God was testing Egypt. He was trying them, and God set plagues on them. And in the movie, it showed the Israelites packing their bags once the Israelites had no work, and so they came to Moses. And of course, it's a drama; it's not what's stated in Scripture. But in the movie, they had an expectation that they were going to leave Egypt right away. And one of them said to Moses, I never thought I would see the day we would leave Egypt. And Moses said, you will. And the guy's like, you will? We will? Thinking that, what are you talking about? And so that's when the Egyptians came, took them, and put them back to work. And so they thought Moses lied to them. And so Moses said to them, even while God tries Egypt, He must test Israel. And, the same thing for you. I mean, you may be dealing with issues with your spouse. Maybe they're not walking with God. They're not walking as you expect. But God's also trying you as well. He's trying your love. So let that be something that encourages you to continue to walk in Him, to continue to pray for your spouse, to continue to love and serve them. Now, He will work out your situation. I had problems in my own marriage, there was issues that I had dealt with. I didn't feel loved. I would gossip about my spouse to family members, which wasn't right, because it gave them the license to trash my spouse. And I can't do that. I couldn't do that anymore. It didn't bring growth. All it brought was bitterness and turmoil. I criticized my spouse. I complained. But eventually, it's God's grace. He gave me the love to love. He's the one that brought the change. There was nothing I did on my own part. I was still walking in fear of, what was going to happen. I walked in anger still. But God brought the change, So it was by His grace. So, when you're going through this, just love them, and God will bring the change in His time. One second. So, no longer, try not to criticize your spouse anymore. Try not to talk to other people about them. Talk to only God, because if you're talking to other people about them, then you're getting them to hate your spouse, and that's not going to bring, any change whatsoever. Complaining about them is not going to bring any change. I know you may be frustrated. I know you may be dealing with those issues, but we got to be lights in this dark world, because the world's looking at us. And even if your spouse is not a believer and is not walking with God, show the love of God to them by serving them. Continue to do that. Remember that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. We didn't behave the way we should through God, but Jesus loved us anyways and died for us. So let that example that Jesus showed be that example for you. There's a good movie. I don't know if you've seen it. Check out Fireproof with Kirk Cameron. Awesome movie, and it definitely shows the same thing about Kirk Cameron's character and what he dealt with. He had problems with his wife, and he would complain, and they would fight all the time, and so his wife started getting, I guess, romanced by this doctor that was in where she worked. And so, God worked the entire thing out. So I would definitely suggest you to check the movie out. So I pray this video has blessed you. If you have any questions, feel free to comment. Thanks for watching.